You're listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, hosted by Steve, Jenny, and his satanic assistant, Alex Houdini, both of whom can't go into churches without vomiting.
Jamie, that's just a defense mechanism. I don't want it to scare you away or anything like that.
No, seriously, we can't go into churches without vomiting.
It's a
Wow.
our good friend David Farrant there over in the UK. So he was quite the fella. But anyways, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. You were on quite a while ago, so it's great to have you back.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah. So Bigfoot field evidence. Oh my God, what evaluation team feet? Sorry. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oof. So Bigfoot. I mean, and I know it's primarily probably Bigfoot, but I mean, you're the paranormal and all sorts of stuff. But why Bigfoot? Why Bigfoot? I know we've probably gotten into this, but I mean, for those who may not know who Jamie is, why Bigfoot?
Why Bigfoot? I ask that question all the time. Why Bigfoot? Why all these weird things have happened in my life? And like for me, it's been this weird transition from the first time I talked to you. Things have happened, and it's just like I think that we live in an unknown world. But Bigfoot happened to me quite by mistake, I'm pretty sure. Like my life took a turn, and Bigfoot was a big part of it, but then I started studying the laws of the universe, and now I've researched in different areas. Like I do CE5 contact, and Jenny and I have both transitioned in the way we think about Bigfoot and the way we think about the unknown in general. So yeah, I mean, Bigfoot happened to me, and that's just a small part of it.
Have you come across have you encountered Bigfoot? I mean, it's hard to explain. I mean, obviously, if you had actually encountered face to face, I'm sure you'd be shitting your pants at that moment in time, the first time. But have you come across something similar? Like, is that what made your interest in Bigfoot really more like a passion?
Long story short, I probably talked about it the last time I was on your show, but my father had lived with me he had bone cancer, and he lived with Jenny and I, and then he passed away, and I was kind of in this weird depression, and Jenny said, you need to get back out and do stuff that you normally do. So I'm a hiker. We both hike. And that's just what Jenny and I do. Like nature is a big part of us. And we went out on this hike with our beagle. And during that hike, I said a prayer, Dad, if you're here, give me a sign that you're here. Because it was probably maybe like 4 months after he died, but I was still in this weird place. We went on this hike. My dog started acting weird. This is the long story short. But my dog came up to me like she had been stung with a bee. So I picked her up, and I'm holding her. And Jenny and I are both standing in this like creek bed in Pennsylvania. It's an area called Shenango. And we're standing there, and all of a sudden we heard this loud vocalization. So this long drawn out vocalization. And we watched in front of us these trees shaking. And Jenny and I at that point really didn't know what was really happening. We were kind of in shock because we grew up there and we knew that area. So it was nothing that we had ever heard. So without communicating with one another, we made this weird agreement with just our eyes, let's go. So we started hiking back up the trail to exit. And as we're leaving, we're hearing this thing behind us making these loud huff, like wah, wah, like it was something was pushing us out of the woods. And we both noticed, and we've talked about this for years, but we felt like something was on both sides of us. So there was more than one. And we got back to our vehicles, went home, still didn't say anything. And when we came in the house, we really then we started talking, what did we experience? And started researching for days. And I mean, probably maybe even weeks, but we took our friend back to the same location, who's a fish and game and wildlife person. So this person went out there with us, and I'm thinking that I'm just going to show him the location where this happened, not thinking that I was going to have something else happen. but we took him there and we're showing him where it happened. We hiked down to this creek bed that feeds into this larger lake. And as we started hiking out, on the way out, we heard what sounded like a man talking in this like really guttural type sound. And then we heard a whistle and a dog bark. So Jenny was with me and our friend Roger, and we had gotten our dogs on the leash. And I went over to this ravine with Roger, and we stood there and we watched this thing stand straight up. And then it went straight down this into this ravine, this really thick, brushy area. And for whatever reason, part of me just said, I'm going to, you know, like I went straight towards it. So we went down to this area where it was, and very thick to get in. And so it was an area that you really couldn't traverse very easily. And we got down there, and there was this large round structure on the ground. So whatever was there had bedded down. And, you know, so then we left, and, you know, like that's where my life changed with Bigfoot. And the other part of this is that I kept thinking about it, and I kept going over and over in my head, like what had happened. But I'm driving to work, and I'm thinking about like everything about that day. And I heard this voice that said, go back to the beginning. And I feel like it was my dad's voice. I can't say that it was my dad, but I started thinking, and I'm driving in my truck on my way to work, and I had to pull my car off the side of the road because I remember the beginning of this was that I said, Dad, if you're here, give me a sign.
Yeah.
And when I say prayer, I'm not like a religious person. I'm more of a spiritual person. I believe in God, and I believe in creation. So I had to pull my car off this truck off the side of the road because literally I remembered the last memory that I had with my dad was I had taken him outside to listen to the birds and look at the trees, came back in the house, and he was watching. My sister gave me a stack of movies. So from these movies, he picked a movie out, and I'm really watching my dad watch this movie, not thinking about it. But the movie was Harry and the Hendersons. So that's where shit got really weird for me, because then it became like this super physical experience, not once, but twice, to then this very spiritual, I need to find answers. Like, what does this all mean? How do we think? And like, what's the power of prayer? And still to this day, I'm not a religious person. I'm very spiritual.
Yeah.
So the answers that I'm looking for have always been on that level since that day. And then like, as I talk to you now, like after several years of talking to you, things have really changed for me in another way, which is, if I realize I can interact with something that I don't know, which is Sasquatch, then I'm going to try other things. So I started interacting with using CE5 contact. So Jenny and I like now label ourselves contact. We're trying to contact whatever's out there, and we've had really cool experiences.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Long story.
Yeah. That's
a great story.
Yeah, I would love to explore that a little bit more in a bit for sure. Like, I mean, that's really cool how you incorporate that, and you've had experiences with that. That's pretty neat. What on what level do you think Bigfoot or Sasquatch, or it's many, you know, AKAs that it's known by, or different sort of whatever species or whatever, what level do you think it exists?
You know, it's a great question, and people ask me this all the time, and I know there's different camps of thinking, but you know, like I go by my own reality. So my reality is what I understand. And for me, the thing that makes the most sense is the Native American approach, which is they all have a name for it. So if they all have a name for it, like as you know, human beings, we've labeled it Bigfoot. That was labeled back in 1960s by or 1950s, I'm not sure, because there's someone found a track that was a Bigfoot. But the Native American tribes all have a name for this being that they call Sasquatch, and that's probably where it originated. But that's where I started researching names locally in Pennsylvania from different tribes. And Pennsylvania is a state that's had very, like a lot of different Indian tribes that lived here, mainly the Delaware and Lenape. So I started talking with tribal people and trying to find out what they think about it. And they believe that it's kind of on a physical, spiritual level. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm at with this.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess because obviously not everyone kind of sort of agrees with that, but I mean it doesn't matter. Um, what matters is that people who are sort of in tune to that sort of spiritual sort of, and I kind of equate it to like people who or a person who can sort of open their minds to trying to understand that the world isn't all about physicality. It's not about humans and tangibility. We need to have something tangible to believe, something
Yes,
within our senses, when realistically we are so like flawed when it comes to that, because our senses, it doesn't include the sort of the unseen world, that metaphysical sort of aspect. And I do believe that somehow the species or the creature, however you want to coin it, it's there and it knows how to home that sort of existence.
definitely. And like I don't know where I was the last time I talked to you, but I was probably in the camp of that it's physical because of the whole physicality of that experience. Like it's a Bigfoot experience. It's a very physical experience and it does change you, but that whole prayer thing changed me in the way that now I have to look at the world around me. Like the unseen is definitely there. And researching people like John Keel and
Mhm.
understanding that there's this whole field, and I look at myself as a person that, and Jenny, both of us kind of look at ourselves as we're only on this planet a short amount of time,
Mhm.
so we consider experimenting with the field. So that's why we do the things the we do things how we do them, and I don't really check with other people to make sure that if they have that I'm getting their approval, because I just do me.
I'm almost certain this is how I remember it. I think I started following you and Jenny on Instagram years ago.
Yes, I think we did.
And I remember looking for you guys on Facebook and making contact, because what I really enjoyed the most was the fact that you guys would go on these hikes and literally go to these areas that, I mean, literally people just really don't go to, or have no real reason to go to, but other than to look for the curiosities. And that it piqued my interest, because I mean, at the time I was doing a lot of hiking. I was really hiking and kind of on that same path. And that, I think that's what I've always enjoyed about you and Jen, is the fact that you guys explored and you brought these little sort of inquisitive moments, and showed people that, hey, could this possibly be something related to Bigfoot or whatever else, Sasquatch, or so on and so on. So I mean, there's a couple of questions here. Hold on.
Yeah, there is.
Is there a possibility, Neil wants to know, is there a possibility Yeti, Bigfoot, Sasquatch are descendants of Neanderthal man who evolved in more physical animal nature sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely plausible that it could be. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that we don't know a lot about the oceans. We don't know what's truly in our earth. Like there's so many theories about it. I don't discount that.
The
Yeah.
second question is from Kevin. Says, do you think that your dad's spirit was trying to communicate with you through the Sasquatch?
It's very possible. Like, and I've thought that. I mean, I've had to think about that for a long time, because literally humans, we're the biggest mystery out there. Like, we're a mystery. Like, what happens to us after we die? Those are big questions. And like, I don't know, like after thinking about my father the way I was thinking about him, he would find humor in that. Like, I don't know. But, you know, sometimes things get your attention for another reason, and I don't know what tried to get my attention, because like I could go to church and you know do whatever church wants you to do and be the person that they want you to be, but I think that something wanted my attention, and I don't know if that was my dad or if that was God or what that was, but it was definitely a physical experience.
Yeah, very, very neat. Very, very unique situation. You know, I mean, people are trying. I mean, because for the longest time, when people thought about Bigfoot, they always thought about or Sasquatch or so on and so on. They thought it was always a kind of a uh, yeah, it's not real. It's stuff that is in these the magazines at the grocery checkouts, and person having an experience. It's just to grab your attention and buy the magazine sort of thing or the newspaper or whatever else. I mean, how has it changed now to say before? I mean, do you think people take the fact that Bigfoot is real seriously more now than ever, or do you think it's still on a whole different level? Just no, it's just not real.
Well, I think because I'm in the community, I've seen Bigfoot grow in popularity. So
Mhm.
Bigfoot's slightly a phenomenon right
Yeah.
now, people, and its merchandising and all of that stuff is really there. But I don't know if it's become part of pop culture that Bigfoot's so popular or in like North America.
Mhm.
But I mean, I can say this for a fact that I interview people and I've had people come to me and tell me their stories, which is also part of that adding puzzle pieces to this whole mystery. So Jenny and I developed a micro study here at Shenango. So, like I'm glad that my Instagram translated the way, you said it did, because that's what
Yeah.
we do is where I think first and foremost, I hike.
Mm,
And if I find something, that's cool. If I don't, I don't. But
mm,
I'm a person that's very connected to the nature in that I'm always saying when I talk to the woods and when I go out, I say, "Show me something cool." Now, this is what I do now, and I feel like there's these universal laws, like if you're looking for something, you'll find it. If
mhm.
there's universal laws that I study, and I think it makes more sense to me than actual religion and being in a church and all of that, laws of nature and universal laws. So if anybody out there wants to study those, they're really kind of important, I think.
Well, yeah, you really get a sense of being out there, and it just like I know when I was on the trail all the time, looking and so on and so on. I just felt so. I felt myself very creative, and very wondering, about a lot of things in life in terms of all these kind of weird sort of scenarios that people experience when they're out there and about and sort of exploring. And you know I think that is my main reason why I do what I do, the paranormal investigating and so on and so on. It was always a sense of exploring. It may be urban exploring or just whatever. It's just a sense of exploring the unknown, really, that really brought exhilaration to how I felt. So
I mean, I just went to a picnic. So I went to this Memorial Day picnic with some Bigfoot people.
mhm.
Was a woman there that had an experience, and she started talking to me and she was telling me, she's like, Jamie, I feel like once your mind is opened to one of these things in the unknown world, like let's say UFOs, that you'll experience something more with like
Yeah.
Bigfoot or ghost. You're expanded, so your awareness is there. And I feel like maybe because it's kind of true for me, because I was a tour guide at Mansfield Reformatory in Ohio, and
Mm.
another location, haunted Hillview Manor. So I feel like what she said is probably true. Like once you're aware and your senses are really heightened with being a ghost hunter. Like you're both ghost hunters, right?
Well, Alex
I'm
is
more
more
of
of
a
a
ghost
ghost
deterrent.
ghost deterrent.
Ghost.
Yeah.
He claims he doesn't have anything much happen when he goes out and looks, but I think he
It's the
has more
opposite.
than the opposite. Yeah.
Nothing
So if
happens when I
if
go
you
out.
want your if you want your if you want your house or business clear, just call Alex.
Okay.
um, but yeah, well, he's been he's had some experiences.
I've had a couple, yeah.
Yeah. that
But see,
you
that's
can't explain.
I mean, that statement that you made, Jamie, may be true for quite a few people. It's definitely
Mhm.
not true for me. I mean, I've tried to keep an open mind. I do believe that there are things on this planet and in this universe that we don't have an explanation for. However, that hasn't translated on my side to me experiencing things on a semi-regular basis. I mean, the things that I've experienced have been years apart and have only been literally like less than a handful, right?
Okay.
So for me,
That's
it's unfortunately, that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to other people, and it's sometimes I feel like as humans we put off our own vibrational frequency, and
Yeah.
I think for me too, like being at Mansfield Reformatory and Haunted Hillview Manor, it's almost like a school of learning in that you really are heightened with your senses, and it could be in the daytime, at nighttime. It's just you're heightened, but I don't know. Like maybe some people can be a deterrent, you know.
You
That's
never
what
know.
seems to it's like Steve, we got to put this to the test.
Well,
Yeah.
well, we've tried. We've put
Yeah.
it to test,
But
I think
there's another question in chat before we go
yeah,
into our talking about ourselves here.
sure.
This is a question that Steve and I have discussed in the past ourselves, but do you think Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, could be interdimensional?
Yes, I do. I mean, I've had people come to me and talk to me not just about Bigfoot, but about portals in the forest, and that they've been hunting and they walk into this area and it looks different. So yeah, I believe that, and there are other people in the Bigfoot community that say that, and I'm open to the fact that it could.
Yeah, I mean it's always been kind of intriguing to me, and that's kind of what like I said again, sort of the whole non-physical sort of aspect of life, and again, how many dimensions do we actually interact with? And we don't know it. I mean, we understand the third dimension, but we can't fathom the fourth. Right? I mean, it would to us, it's just like there's no way our brains are capable, or for how we use our brains, capable of understanding the fourth or like 4D landscape.
I
Right?
mean,
So
I like thinking about Alex, and he's saying he's a deterrent. Like maybe when you're doing this, and think about the way you're thinking too. Like I think it's important, and I'm only saying that because of the experience that I had. Start thinking about the way you're thinking when you're ghost hunting or in a building that you believe is haunted.
I could try that. I mean, I try to go in there without thinking anything, one
Yeah.
way or the other. But to your point, like when you said you go for hikes and you say you put it out there, for lack of a better term, that show me something interesting or something cool or what have you. Maybe that's what I got to try to start doing and see if that has any effect.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe have like a childlike, play-like quality, curiosity, and sometimes that works for me. Like I don't go out and expect things to happen, but I ask for things and show me. I talk to the universe like show me something.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, Mr. Smith asks a question. Obviously, a lot of people wonder. It's like, on Bigfoot, where are the photos, cameras everywhere? And I mean, at the same time, people might be throwing stuff out there, but now how the landscape is, say a real photo or video clip or whatever, it's just laughed off because people automatically assume it's fake.
Right. I mean, we live in a world where everything could be AI, like it's
Mhm.
hard to believe a lot of stuff that we're hearing on the news, and you don't know if somebody's telling you the truth. But I've seen images that people have brought forward that tell me that this is real. Like even if you go back to the Patterson Gimlin, it's one of the
Mhm.
most scrutinized pieces of film probably on the planet. And when you sit in front of the person who was there, which was Bob Gimlin, and
Mhm.
listen to that man talk, and he tells the day that he was there and what led up to it, and you believe him. I believe him. He's very sincere, and I don't think you can find somebody that's more sincere than him. And if he's lived this life and he's talked about Bigfoot over and over again, and it's really kind of almost ruined his life, his
Mm.
marriage, his life in the community, but he still holds true to that story. And I think that Bob Gimlin and that piece of footage of film is very important to keep to keep in people's minds, because like when I go to conferences and people show me photographs and you look at this and you're like, you say to yourself, this is really compelling evidence. But a lot of people don't want to come forward with what they have, and there's researchers that have great vocal audio sounds that I
Mhm.
great. Like,
There was like, speaking of that, there was a case. I can't remember it. I think it was in the 70s. In the 70s in California, where was it now? Was it it's probably Northern California somewhere, but I can't remember. Something about these people who were there, they had cottages, annual cottages there, close by this area, and they would wander into this sort of area, this part of the forest or whatever, and they had, I wish I could remember the name of this place. They were having some experiences where they would like hear like the screaming or the sort of sounds that a Bigfoot would make, and then the rocks, things being thrown at them, and they claimed that they had seen these creatures that defied logic. What the heck was I? See, I can't. I'd have to dig it up again. But I found the story very fascinating. I mean, in the 70s, who knows? But just the story alone was just like fascinating.
I mean, I've heard similar stories of what you're saying, and
Yeah,
people are always telling you things and how their experience happened, and then I archive it in my mind, or sometimes I'll take down the reports.
yeah,
Just adds another piece to the puzzle. But when it's to me, it's really about your consciousness and the way you're putting forward how you're in the forest or whatever. And people have experiences where they're totally randomly not thinking about anything, and they just have it. But when somebody comes to me with a story like that where they're hearing sound,
Oh,
oh, are we losing?
he froze.
I think
Yeah.
that's what you were saying. I'm not sure.
Okay, hold on. Let me just.
We have a couple more questions, actually.
Yeah, throw it out there. I am like looking for this case because I want to.
Okay. So the one question is, why? Excuse me. Why do the pictures always turn out blurry? That's what I want to know. Could it have something to do with it being interdimensional?
I mean, it really truly could. I don't know. I mean, with cameras that we have now, you would think that you would have clear images, but it really does always come out blurry. But I would say the same thing with UFOs. Like, if there's not really clear images of those, but people experience them.
Yeah, I think some of it has to do with most cameras. Let's say 99% more are digital nowadays. Bigfoot's not going to pose for you.
No.
If you see Bigfoot, Sasquatch, what have you, chances are it's going to be at a distance, and you snap your shot with a cell phone, which is not 100% accurate. Let's be honest. But then when you go and try to zoom in, it's going to be pixelated. It's gonna look blurry.
Yes.
That's just the way it is with these kind of digital photos, unfortunately. So that accounts for some of it. I'm not saying it accounts for all of it, but that definitely accounts for some of it. Where if you're trying to show something in the distance on a digital photo and you zoom into it, it's going to look pixelated. The other question that's in the chat here says, can you pair the Knox with Bigfoot?
Can you? Well, I would say this, that if you're in the woods and you're experimenting, which I go a lot to the Allegheny National Forest, and the Allegheny National Forest got its name from the Allegheny, which were these large giants. So when that question would be, when you put out knocks, can you receive knocks back? And the answer to that is, I have received knocks back from knocking. So I don't know that it's Bigfoot because I didn't see Bigfoot doing it, but it does happen. So if you're going to experiment when you're in the woods, try that and see what happens. That would be my answer to that.
Well, let me expand on that. What techniques do you employ in terms of actually trying to make contact or finding Sasquatch?
Well, for Jenny and I think what works for us is that, like, we sort of have, and I'm only saying that because it works for us, but we use sort of like our collective consciousness, and we're going in with the specific purpose. And we've utilized our paranormal background with ghost hunting, and I've taken equipment out with me, like Panasonic DR60. Are you aware of those?
Yeah.
Do you like those or no?
I don't mind them. No, I don't mind them.
I think people think of them as like another recorder, but I've had experiences with them where when you take them out into the forest and use them like a paranormal researcher, that's sort of how Jenny and I operate when we're in the woods. And we use our heightened senses, but really we're using our collective consciousness, and that's sort of our protocol with the whole thing. And there's an intent to it, so we're intent on finding something, and we're putting it out there to the universe. And I can honestly say I feel like we're doing it the right way, but I could be wrong, and other people might say we're doing it wrong. But for us, we get results with what we do.
And I mean, that's the main thing. If it's working for you guys, then why stop using it? I mean, if anything, expand and utilize some other stuff. But I mean, your findings and so on and so on. Do you show other people your findings and sort of get another sort of layer of answer or questioning from what you find?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I do. I'm in a community of Bigfoot researchers. So there's sort of categories of this community that, sadly, science takes the top tier. So when in the science field and, like, there's people out there that only rely on science, then they have this precedence. So like, I don't really have a trepidation about coming forward with the stuff that I have, and I share it with people. And I think that people know Jenny and I, and they respect us. So most people take the stuff that we bring forward as sincere, and that's probably because what we do is we don't really care what other people think. And like, I respect other people, and most of the people respect us, and what we show them and share with them is on this level of, like, we can learn something together.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I say to most people. I say, if anything, I wouldn't worry too much about the audience on the outside, because you're going to have your naysayers, obviously. I mean, no matter what. I mean, when you're looking at the paranormal, no matter what, you're going to have your naysayers.
Yes.
I always just let my work speak for itself. I mean, and when I don't say I have evidence. I mean, I have findings, and I want, personally, I would like to know what you guys think. I mean, I'm not an expert. I would not claim to ever be an expert, but I want to know what you guys think, because obviously somebody out there might have a little bit more knowledge on something that I don't really have a lot of knowledge on, like maybe a location, maybe some sort of routine or whatever may come with that sort of particular finding. I'm not the end all be all. So I mean, I do employ the fact that I really do need to gather what others kind of, just have it scrutinized, if anything.
Right. And it's okay to be wrong.
No, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been wrong. I've been wrong.
He's wrong daily.
Yeah. All right. Here
we have
go.
another question there.
Jamie,
Is-
do you approach the subject with no expectation?
I do approach the subject with no expectation because you know what? The universe, I feel, always like provides in a way that it's going to share something with me. It might not be Bigfoot, but you know, when I'm hiking, I'm always out there with a curious mind, and
Mhm.
you know, I it might be finding a Luna moth, you know, and that's super exciting to me. And it might not be Bigfoot, but I find this Luna moth in the Allegheny National Forest. So I expect that it's always going to surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I like it could be the smallest little thing, but it's something that you don't see all the time. That fascinates me. You know, you go into these places, you're like, wow. Like, I remember one time stumbling upon an old Volkswagen Beetle, and yeah,
Where was this?
it was just off the beaten trail, and it was just parked there, and it'd been there for years. It was all rusted up and so on and so on, and the windows were all gone. But I mean, it didn't matter to me. It was like, wow, this is actually really neat. You know what? There's a story behind this. Why is this vehicle here in the middle of nowhere? It makes no sense. You know?
I mean, I think every trail, every path that we take has a story to tell. Every building that you
Yeah,
go on it has a story to tell you.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, yeah, that's one of the most fascinating aspects. Is trying to figure out what that story is.
Yeah, every forest that I enter has a different feeling, a different vibe to it, you know. And like I think we talked earlier about locations and stuff. If you
Mhm.
put yourself in a position where you know where people have had Bigfoot encounters and you go there, you may have an encounter. So it's always good to listen and pay attention to where people have had encounters and go there. Just like it is with haunted buildings. If a building's considered haunted, it's worth going into and checking out.
So I got a question
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
For all people out there who are listening, who may be interested in doing what you're doing with Bigfoot and
Mhm.
Sasquatch, what safety measures do you recommend for anyone who's interested in starting, but doesn't really know the ins and outs?
I think the safety thing would be is if you're new to going into the woods, you should always know what kind of animals are there. If you're a person that feels the need to have a weapon, I think you should have at least a pen knife, you know, some kind of knife. Whether, you know, I'm not a gun person, but you know, people that I go with have guns. And, you know, for safety reasons, it might be important because like Pennsylvania has rattlesnakes. I've hiked in areas where, you know, rattlesnakes, like you're hiking and all of a sudden ferns are going around your leg and it's a feeling like, oh man, there's rattlesnakes here. But you know, walking stick, you know what Jenny and I do too is if we're hiking and we go out alone, I'll always let her know where I'm going to be and she'll always let me know where she's going to be, or I'll leave a note on my vehicle saying I'm hiking here and I started my hike at this time, so that way, you know, if something happens like missing 411, somebody knows that I've been there and what my purpose was.
And I mean, exactly. And there's certain areas too. Really gotta watch it. I mean, anything from guns to all sorts of, stuff. I know. I remember watching this thing years ago on this guy was looking for going on a Bigfoot hunt, if you will, in Western New York, I believe it was, and they had rifles with them. And the reason why they had the rifles was because they simply were afraid that, if Bigfoot attacked them, they would be prepared. But I mean, anything could happen, especially if you're employing a gun or whatever else in a situation like that.
Right. I mean, people always ask me that question, are you afraid of Bigfoot? I'm not really afraid of a whole lot. Like I think that the unknown to me is not scary, but
No,
for
yeah.
would be, it would be. I'm more afraid of humans. Like I've interacted with people in the woods that I didn't expect, but they were sketchy. You know, they were
Mm.
dodgy.
Yeah. I say the same thing about anything within the paranormal, right? I mean, if anything is
It's a living you
evil,
have to worry about.
yeah, they're not demonic. They're human,
Right.
really. I mean, they're probably your demons right there,
Yeah.
which is scary. But
Do have another question from Neil.
yeah, go ahead.
Could they have evolved in subterranean caves and tunnels, deliberately avoiding our species whom they fear?
I mean, I would definitely say that's plausible. It could be really because I mean, people claim that they have this methane smell. I've never had the smell of Sasquatch in all the years I've been doing this, but people say that it has this methane smell to it, that it could be from being underground.
Hmm.
And this isn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there an extensive cave system down in the US? I don't know
Yes,
exactly where, but I've heard that there is.
yes. I mean, there's definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we have there's underground mines around Shenango where we hike.
Mm-hmm.
There's an area of Moraine where people have come forward and told me that they've seen cave entrances. You know,
Well, yeah, that and going back to what you were saying with your kind of your first experience there, with the area that you had found with the bedding, sort of something bedding down in that area. I mean, that would be kind of, intriguingly strange, if anything. But I mean, what initially was going through your mind at that point? Like, I mean, the whole bedding down, something has been here that wasn't human.
something has been here. Like honestly, I had to keep like Jenny, Roger, and I. Roger was the one that was with us when that happened. Really had to think about that. Like like he's used to looking at stuff like that because was fishing game and wildlife.
Yeah.
So that was like he didn't quite understand what it was either. And for us, I really had no idea. It just looked like something where something had bedded down. And like if you think about Bigfoot as being like a primate, it would make sense because they make ground nest and things like that.
Have you come across, and I've heard this, the possibility that years ago there were giants that roamed the earth. I mean, you hear that quite often, and
Nephilim?
yeah, and I mean, is it possible that the Sasquatch could be a descendant of sorts
I
of
mean,
these giant
yeah,
beings?
I'm in this community, so I hear all of that. The
Yeah,
Nephilim were
yeah.
these like angels, and there's so many people in the community that really believe that. And like I don't discount it because I don't know, and I'm not
Mm.
really knows the Bible that well to know what the Nephilim are, but it's out there. People talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's relatively an interesting topic, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been fascinated with Bigfoot um, all my life, and but I've never actually gone out and tried to, I don't want to say hunt, but look or encounter a Bigfoot. I think it would be relatively intriguing to do so. Just, I guess, finding
Location.
location and person and whatever else to sort of lead me in the
Apparently
right way.
BC's the good place to be.
Oh yeah, Vancouver
And
Island.
you were there.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Vancouver Island has quite a lot.
I mean, at this time, I camp in the Allegheny National Forest with my friends from Canada. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I mean, you're always welcome to come down and camp in the Alleghenies.
I love the Alleghenies. I've been there, but I've never camped there. God, that'd be there in the Appalachians. Oh,
The experiences that we've had there are super fascinating. Like it never fails to like have something happen, and when you're with a group of people and something happens, it's even more exciting. um, there was one year that we were there. We had just left, so Jenny and I had just left, but we said something, we felt like something was going to happen, and our friends the following that night after we left, they had an encounter that they had recorded. So this experience is recorded.
mm.
And um, one of them had something jump over their tent, and then another person had something impale their tent. So their tent got impaled, and you could hear this thing hitting the ground. Like it hit the ground, like, and you could hear it running. And they were all probably like 2 o'clock in the morning, and they were standing around the fire, and they had their children with them. Like some of them had their children with them. So it became like this really protective feeling, like we got to protect them because we don't know what that was. But it had like this vocalization too. So the Alleghenies are like one of my favorite places to research.
Yeah, and I mean it's such a huge area too. I mean, they what? Where do they start now, and where do they end? Pretty much.
Well, I think the Alleghenies start. Part of it is in New York State, so part of
Yeah.
it's like the Seneca Nation, and then it comes down into Pennsylvania, and it then becomes part of the Appalachia that goes down into West Virginia, Virginia. It's a big mountain chain.
Yeah, I mean, there's another intriguing place, Virginia, man. A lot of stuff down there as well. I mean, it's such a fascinating thing, and I would really love to kind of just like look. I don't think I've ever seriously thought about doing it, but I'd really like to. And again, it's just all a matter of figuring it out. But yeah, you never know, Jamie. You never know.
Haven't
Oh.
invite. Welcome to come down.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool. So so about the SETI stuff. How did that come into play?
So that came into play because Jenny and I, after we had this encounter with what we believe to be Bigfoot, we were psychologists. So we're at the psychologist and we're talking about what happened to us. And then she told us that she had other people that had anomalous things happen to them. So
Wow.
she formed this thing called the Free Thinkers, and it was sort of like this group therapy thing where people could freely talk about like what happened to them. And there was a woman that was a preacher, and she was also a nurse who believed she was abducted. So we all started going on field trips. Like we would take people to the woods. This woman took us out into this meadow at Shenango and started doing the CE5 contact. So CE5 is based on Dr. Stephen Greer. Are you familiar?
Yeah.
So Dr. Stephen Greer has this whole protocol that he uses to make contact. So like that really excited me because I was like, like contact, we can all do this with different varying degrees of anything that you want to contact. But that's how we sort of got involved with CE5. And from the moment we started doing that, it was also a feeling of like, this is also like collective consciousness and how you put your mindset onto something. And CE5 literally means close encounters of the fifth kind, which is human initiated contact. So you're putting yourself in the space of intent, and we were sitting in a meadow and we would play these tones that Dr. Stephen Greer has in this whole library of tones that he has. And there's a meditation that goes along with it. And if you follow the protocol, you can have things happen. But I will tell you this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, the Bigfoot thing was very big. But when we started doing the CE5, it took on this like life of its own. Jenny and I we would sit out there with a group of people that we trusted, and it was partially and mostly most of the free thinker people. And we had experiences that I can't explain to people without sounding crazy. And that's sort of exciting for me to talk about this stuff, because if I talk about this and someone in your audience has experienced the same thing, then it becomes like there's a reality to it that, someone else might relate. But Jenny and I sat with these people and we played these tones and we did the meditation, and we would come home afterwards. And what happened is, if Jenny was here, she could tell you the same thing. But I would be sleeping, and this is how I'm talking about this. It's a series of years. So we've been years now, and I can tell you that these things happen often, very often. But once you play these tones and do the meditation, Jenny and I have had these tones start playing in our home, inside our house. Like she'll be singing, I'll hear the tones.
Wow. Without reason, just
No,
playing.
they're playing, and it's almost like
Wow.
Close Encounters, the movie, with that, that music that plays.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been several times where I had to walk around the house. So I'm inside my house, and I'm walking around inside the house. I'm trying to find where these sounds are emanating from, and I can't.
Wow.
Like, it's literally just this weird, no origin, but the sounds are all over. And like, I know that I'm hearing the sounds because my dog reacts, and my dog is hearing the sounds.
Yeah.
It's in this dead sleep. So then I really didn't say anything to her, and I think it was like a few nights later, I was sleeping and she heard the tones in the house, and it's really unexplainable. And then it happened another time where we both heard tones. So I decided I'm calling my friends that do the same thing as us. And I called them and I held my phone out and I said, "What are you hearing?" And they said, "We're hearing the tones." And I'm like, I know.
So when you hear the tones
Yes.
in your house,
Yes.
how does that make you feel? Does it cause memory or anything lost, or what? Does something, how do you react to those tones when other than, oh, I have to investigate where are they coming from? What else happens?
It's honestly, I'm not even sure. Like, there's a part of you that slightly becomes afraid, where
Okay.
like a little bit of fear. I'm not gonna lie. It was a fearful thing. I was like, I know that these tones come out of my phone because I have Dr. Greer's app on my phone.
Mhm.
It's not coming from my phone. So it is really like, I don't know. Bigfoot didn't scare me as much as the CE5 stuff. But then I got to the point where it started happening more and more, where I didn't become fearful. And um, I have another friend that has very, very cool anomalous things happen in almost the same way. So I don't know. It gives me comfort to know that there's other people out there that have had experiences. And I've tried to get in contact with other people that use the CE5. And it's kind of a community where they talk about it, but they don't. And I think that a lot of people that have these experiences with using the CE5, they're also questioning, like, what is really happening. And I don't have an answer for it. I just don't. But it's very exciting.
Yeah,
Do you know the frequency of the tones?
yeah, I was gonna say.
They are on there, but I mean, they're different frequencies, and they're weirdly based off of like the one tone is from a crop circle. So the crop circle, they've used mathematical equations to make sound to it. So it's based off of a crop circle. And I don't know, I've never experienced a crop circle, but there's other ones there's one that's based off of a sound that was captured outside of Mount Shasta. And it's a really kind of obnoxious sound, but when you hear it in your house, it takes on a whole different level of like what is going on.
Well, I mean, it leads credence to the fact that, our bodies, have our own frequency, and it interacts with the frequencies around us in the environment, again, the unseen sort of world. And is it only a matter of, homing the ability to sort of patch into those frequencies on a much larger scale? That, most people don't even think on that level, that, yeah, well, my body's got a frequency and it's interacting with all these other frequencies. What are you talking about? Right? It's such, that is fascinating.
But for me, and I mean, probably for you both too, like, because of the whole ghost hunting background, you really, after all of these things have happened to me, I start thinking of myself as a tuner and a receiver.
Yeah.
Literally, when I'm out and I'm doing these meditations and I'm sitting in the dark and we're sitting under the sky and we're looking at the cosmos, and our brains and our minds are trying to connect with extraterrestrials that are out there, telling them that we're curious people and we're here to make contact, and you're asking for that contact, and then it really happens, it blows your mind. It really does. But when I'm out there and I do this really weird thing, I will sit there and I have I use my hand in the air and I turn a dial, like I'm tuning into the frequency, and that's what
Mhm.
it's a weird thing that I just do, but I feel like I am really tuning in, and there's this weird intent within all of the people that I work with for the CE5 stuff. We all believe that we're going to make contact, and I think that's an important part of anything, is that
Mhm.
there's feeling that you are believing that something is going to happen. You're not expecting it, because really when something does happen, it's very unexpected in how it will happen. And I say that because of the tones inside my house. I didn't expect that. Not
Yeah.
did I expect that. And even
I mean,
with that, I utilized that Panasonic DR60, and I
mhm.
used that as a tool because it's one of the tools with ghost hunting that I felt worked the most. And it
Mhm.
was the closest thing that could give you evidence, in that there's a way of using the Panasonic DR60 that will show intelligence, and
Mhm.
that was important. So when I was out there and I'm sitting under the stars and I'm sitting under the cosmos and I'm using Dr. Greer's protocol, I'll ask questions like I'm doing a ghost hunt. And there was one time where I mean, I'm just going to say this, it's weird, but the Carpenters, Calling Occupants, are you aware of that song?
No,
No.
no.
After you get off, if you're check that song out, it's the Carpenters are the most square band out there from the 70s.
Oh, I know I know the band. I know the band, the Carpenters. Which one is it now?
It's called Calling Occupants, but that,
Calm Occupants. Okay.
yeah, that song specifically it was written by a Canadian,
Mhm.
but was re-recorded by the Carpenters. But that song is used on World Contact Day, which is in April. So every April, people all around the world use this protocol that Dr. Greer has developed.
Mhm.
So we play that song, Calling Occupants. I have my little external speaker and I play it, and we all sit there and like it's kind of hippy dippy, but we're singing along with it. And you're really feeling the lyrics. But
Mhm.
when we're done with it, I pulled out my recorder and I said to the recorder, I said to the ETs that are out there, whatever I'm communicating with, I said, and I have it on recording, so I have how it answered me. But I said, can you tell me what we're looking for? And it said contact. And then I said, then it came across the recorder, and I couldn't hear it with my ear, but when I played back the recorder, it said,
Mm.
we are friends. But in the song
Mm.
Occupants, it's the lyric and the chorus is we are friends. So
Wow.
super exciting. And I know I might be translating to your audience as like this weirdo crazy person, but you it's
No,
so
no,
cool. It is so
no,
cool that it did that.
no. I mean, to me, it's you're not afraid. You're not afraid to share and experiment with this stuff. I mean, I don't call that crazy at all. Weighing the DR60 is a faulty piece. I know there's a lot of people that don't.
People like it. I really do, but
Yeah,
there's a way of using it, and I
yeah.
challenge anyone who like looks down on it. Go into a building, and if you're ghost hunting with this Panasonic DR60,
Mm,
hold a book out. Just hold a book out, point to a word, and say, "Can you tell me what word I'm pointing at?" And if that
mhm.
word comes across, I'm telling you, it works. And it like your voice is your voice on that
Yep.
recorder.
Mhm.
Whatever comes across in a frequency, but it's always, in my opinion, come out very clear.
Yeah, I mean, I've used the DR60 in the past, and I haven't had any issues with it. I mean, I just I know there's a lot of people that are I don't know, they hate it. They hate it. But hey, that's teach their own. We got to take a halfway break here. Are you good for a little bit more?
Yes, but can we pick up with the DR60, because I had one more thing to say
Uh,
about it.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay.
You go ahead and say it before we go for a break if you want.
Okay, so the Panasonic DR60, if you're using it and you want to use it in the forest, this is what I did, and I have a recording that translates back via the recorder. I said into my recorder, "Can you make this noise? I'm going to make a noise," and I went whoop, and then when it played back, it did a whoop. It did
Wow.
more than one whoop. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, that
And
is.
you use the Panasonic DR60 just for ghost hunting. You can use it for lots of things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, well, thank you everybody for tuning in to us on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course, watching us here on our YouTube channel. You are watching and listening to Nocturnal Frequency Radio, and we have Jamie King here. And we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back. I swear we will. I mean, I don't lie about that stuff. We will be right back. Hold tight.
I'm Richard Palmisano, the founder of the Searcher Group. It's a paranormal company, the oldest in Canada, founded in 1979, which not only makes me old, but makes me doing paranormal research and field work for just under 45 years now. I am also an author, researcher, and lecturer on the paranormal. I've written 6 books now. And I really enjoy coming on with Steve and Alex on Nocturnal Frequency Radio, as well as listening to the shows, because there's a lot of interesting guests there. I like it, looking at this stuff, because it opens your mind to other options and other alternative thoughts. And, there's always time to learn new things. So I hope you join us and come and see Nocturnal Frequency Radio. Thank you.
So let me ask you, what makes for good radio?
My 5 favorite songs all day long.
Play it again.
No.
As many commercials as physically possible.
What? No, why would that be good?
Great music, great talk shows, no commercials.
Precisely. New Visions Radio gives you no commercials, no nonsense, just the best new music and the best talk all day long, 24/7, 365. NewVisionsRadio.com.
Hey guys, Kristen here, host of the Paranormal Girl podcast, a bingeable exploration and deep dive education about the paranormal for the skeptical believer. Some of my past season topics have included shadow people, Mandela effect, demons, and UFOs. Currently, I am tackling Bigfoot. I have been sharing this journey with my audience since early 2021, and I have learned a lot these last few years. It's truly a mysterious world out there beyond our perceptions, and reality is just not what it seems. I have also, since the start, met some awesome folks like Alex and Steve, and I've really enjoyed watching and learning from them and also joining them on their show. Their guests are always outstanding, their listeners are just the coolest, and these hosts are some of my favorite people. I recommend their show to anyone looking for an intelligent and fun conversation about the paranormal amongst friends. So join me on my investigation, join Steve and Alex on theirs, and enjoy. Now back to the show. You are watching Nocturnal Frequency Radio.
That you are, and thank you. We're back again. If you're listening to us on the New Visions Radio Network, or here watching us on our YouTube channel, once again, thank you, Jamie, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm really fascinated to know or learn more about the SETI stuff. So how long have you been employing this now for?
Oh my gosh. Let me try to think. It's been at least 7 years that we've been doing this CE5 stuff.
And yeah, I mean, how long's it been? Oh my God, it's been a while since you were last on the show, though, too, right?
It's gonna be around that time.
Yeah.
I remember the name of your show was like the coolest name.
Yeah.
It's kind of misleading. It kind of makes people think we're farting in the wind.
Yeah, well, when you look at Nocturnal Frequency, you think night poor incapacity while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
But whatever. I like it. I always thought it was a unique name. Not well at the time, anyways, when I first thought of it. But yeah, I mean, so 7 years that you've employed this, and the experiences that you've had
Many
are incredible.
Like they're very incredible. Like the great thing about that is that you're sitting with a group of people and you're in a meadow and you're just really using your collective consciousness, the things that can happen. And you know, you all have a different perspective, and each person that you're sitting with is a different reality. But when you're seeing the same thing in the sky and things that appear, like there's been things that have appeared in the sky that really none of us can explain. And, you know, like
Mhm.
we have little apps that can track like the Starlink, and we can see where, you know, we can see the different weather stuff. We can see the planes that are coming. We know, like, there's an app that we can hold up and it'll tell you what flight it is. So we know airplanes, and we know the difference between an airplane and UAP, UFO, whatever you want to call it, you know.
Mhm.
But for us, it's about making contact. And like when things appear in the sky, like I'll give one example of something that happened that none of us were really prepared for. And Dr. Greer's protocol says that that they can mimic other things, like they can mimic other things. So we watched the C-130 coming towards us, and it did this bank above the trees and then just completely disappeared. And we were like, that is the weirdest thing that ever, like all of us were just like, that is so freaking weird, because literally you couldn't hear the plane, but you could see this plane coming above the treetops. Like when you see a C-130 above the treetops, it should be loud. It should make
That's a big plane.
right. And it did this bank and just completely disappeared. So like we all like we keep a log, so we keep a diary of like what we see in the sky, what the conditions were. And other things that we've seen is we had our one friend with us. She brought her husband, so her husband had never done the CE5 contact, and really we didn't know what would happen or if anything would happen at all. And as we're sitting in our chairs, we watched this ball of light. Like I would say it's probably maybe about 12 feet long and maybe about 15 to 16 feet wide above us, like not that far above the treetops, just appear, and then went over our heads in this really slow movement, and then just completely like take off. And the woman's husband was there, and he had to call his father. His father's a preacher, so he's on the phone with his father telling him that he had just witnessed this thing. And it really, like the CE5, you just don't know how things are going to happen. Like you're supposed to in your mind think about what this UFO or whatever the contact is that you want to make, but I think we all have a different idea what that would look like. So we know what's going to show up. And we've had another experience that we had with the CE5 was we were all getting ready to leave. So we're getting ready to leave. We're packing up. We're taking our chairs, and we're walking out. And as we're walking out, this beam of light shone down on all of us. And it was, I don't know where it originated from. It was just very weird. And the other thing is like the stuff that's happened in our house, that is completely unexpected. Didn't expect it to happen. Can't explain why that happened. Don't know how it originated. But those are all things that go along with the Dr. Greer protocol.
Wow.
Is this protocol available? I mean, obviously.
Let me say there's an app for it.
No, yeah, there's the app. I mean, is it a paid app? Is it a free app? I mean, just so the people in the audience, and if you want to expand a little further, if there's people in the audience that have experienced something extraterrestrial, let's say, for the lack of a better term, how can they then get involved if they want to get involved?
So the CE5 is you pay for the app. I think when I bought it, it was like $6.99, and I think it might be like $10 now. And it basically is a source, like it's a library source of Dr. Greer's protocol. So he has a library of tones. So they're tones and frequencies. And I know you asked me what the frequency was, and I'm not exactly sure, but that's a whole library of tones. Then he has different meditations that go along with the tones. So you're supposed to actually do the meditation, then play the tones, but you don't have to do it in the sequence that he says. The other thing is that it offers you a library and resources where you can connect with other people in the community. So the app will allow you to put in where you're at, and it'll tell you like 3 miles away someone else is using the CE5 or that they have the app. And then
this is it here, right?
That is, yes. And then you can message these people and tell them, you know, I'm meeting up. Would you like to meet up? And, you know, I don't think I've ever met anyone from the app using it, but they're there, that there's access for you to meet up with other people who do this. And like I said, people all over the world do it, and sometimes they agree on a certain day to make contact.
And when they agree, like, I mean, when they get together and they do this sort of massive contact thing, I mean, what are they doing? What are they doing? In sync, right? In sync.
Well, I don't think it has to be in sync because you're in
No.
time zones, but you're
Okay.
putting out the intention of curiosity, and you're
Yeah.
putting out the intent of basically being a facilitator of peace in the cosmos, or I hear people throw around words like the Galactic Federation and the Galactic Family, and you can call it whatever you want, but it's basically about making contact, and that's how I look at it. I don't call them family, or it's about making contact.
Gee, no camera recording. Do you have any recordings of this stuff?
Yes, I do. Jenny and I both give lectures on Bigfoot, and we're currently doing lectures and CE5 work with different places that we go, and all free. Like, we don't charge people because it's all about learning and it's all about experiencing. So my hope is that people experience something. So yeah, we do that. I don't know, like it's all about learning for us.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is any of this. It's a learning experience. I mean, I can't think. I don't think I would understand it any other way other than it's a learning process. It's like I feel like I'm a constant student.
And that's the good. Like, no one's a teacher. It's about learning together.
Yeah. I mean, you're exploring things that we just, in many cases, we just don't understand what's going on. And then, yes, science gives us a sort of, peering into that and theories and so on, but it doesn't give us the answers. And this is why it's an ongoing learning experience for us.
But I feel like we're living in exciting times. I feel like we're living in scary times, like politically in America. It's difficult. But I feel like we're also living in a time of deconstruction. So things being deconstructed, in that people are finding truths. So truths are being revealed. And I think that one of the truths that's going to be revealed is that science is not always right. And there's going to be this weird bridge between spirituality and science that is going to make the most differences on the planet when they start agreeing.
Yeah. I mean, science, like anything, it's man-made. It's fallible.
Yes.
It can be corrected. Just like anything man-made. And I think if anything, it gives us sort of a safety net, right? It's a safety net. We're looking into something that I don't know. This is kind of scary. Is there an answer out there for us? And people will go to science, and hopefully science has the answers, but it doesn't always
tell
us the truth. Yeah, so it's quite intriguing. I mean that, yeah, I think that is rather. I mean, I've always been fascinated with Stephen Greer.
I mean, yeah, Greer. I've never met him. I have friends that have met him, and again, a lot of these public figures are odd, and I'm sure odd. Like, this is what I'm told, but I can say this. Like, I don't care if a person. I don't care what they look like. I don't care what they act like, but if I'm using something they're telling me works and it works for me, I'm saying thumbs up to him. I don't know him personally, but I like the protocol, and weirdly enough, I think it really works. Like, I can't explain it.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, if it's working, hey, I know if something's working for me, I want to, like, sort of, run it through the ringer. I'd really want to know what's going on. Like the whole fact that you were hearing these tones in your house and you can't even figure out where they're coming from. I mean, do you think it's maybe from somebody else that's playing these tones, or do you think it's coming from elsewhere?
No, I mean, I can say, like, I will say this. It's like, it's not happened just once. It's been multiple times. There was
Yeah.
another time where I had come in the house after being out till 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the house and my wife is outside with the dogs. And she said, Jamie, come out here. There's these tones playing. And I was already in my underwear and I came outside in my underwear to hear these tones. And I'm like, where are these tones coming from? And then I realized they're coming from the tree directly above our driveway. And I walked out a little further and I couldn't hear them. But when I came back and I'm standing right under this tree, and I recorded it, but right under this tree, you could hear, and they were the tones very close to Dr. Greer's tones, but not exactly. And I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's like they were isolated to one area, but when they're in our house, I can't originate. I don't know where the sound's coming from. It's almost like, is it coming from your own mind? But then I can say the other time it happened, I called my friends and said, what are you hearing? And they're hearing it. So I know I'm not just hearing it.
I know you've got Alex's piqued interest in this. You can tell. Well, I want the app.
It's expensive. I gotta save us some money.
But all in all though, it sounds really, really intriguing. Yeah, that is incredible.
I'll start a Patreon or GoFundMe rather for me to buy that app.
I don't know what it is.
$12.99 here in Canada.
$12.99. Okay, it's worth it. My opinion.
Alex, just skip that sandwich.
Yeah, skip the sandwich.
Skip the sandwich. Buy the app. I don't know. I'll probably invest in it. I'll give it a try.
There may be another app on that's free, and actually, I feel like you can use YouTube. I think there's some YouTube things that Dr. Greer has that
There probably is.
Yeah, those tones are available. You can use the same tones.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. It's just all a matter of, I guess, the you said the meditation methods too, right?
Right. And I enjoy the meditations. I mean, his voice is a little can make some people fall asleep, but what he says is actually very beautiful. It's beautiful if that's a message that they're putting out to the universe. Like, to me, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, and it can't be any worse than Alex putting me to sleep. I'm just kidding. But you know what?
Put you to sleep. You're not waking up.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That just the whole tone bit, and hearing it after a while and everything that just absolutely fascinates me. And the experiences that you've had, like that's to me, that's fascinating. I really thank you for sharing that.
So the other thing I've done is I started researching and getting certified in forest therapy, like ecotherapy. So it's about contacting, like communication in the forest. So taking people.
Wow.
So like it's also about connecting with the forest. And I think that I feel like it's just the next evolution in who I am, in trying to figure out like how things work and how we interact with the universe around us, and be it on a physical level with the trees in the forest, that it might help me in other ways. And I don't know, like I never know what direction things are going for me, but that just came about and I was like, you know what, I'm doing it. And it's helped me in a lot of ways to understand the forest better, how trees communicate with one another, our systems. And
well, that's fascinating in itself. Like, I mean, obviously, you hear all the time about whales communicating and all these different species and how they make these sounds and they're simply communicating with each other. And humans are supposed to be the most intelligent creature, and you sit there and go, wait a sec. Well, we don't know what they're saying. We can't be that intelligent. So I mean, yeah, obviously that would be what sort of, I mean, that's neat. I mean, how does like when you're in that sort of going through that sort of teaching, I mean, what do they put forward to you? Like, how to interact with the environment, the forest, like how does that play out?
I mean, for me, it plays out in that I'm understanding the sensory part of our being as a human being, and how when we go into the forest and like let's just say a tree hugger, you're hugging the tree, you're also giving something to that tree, and you're receiving something, be it like a aura or a frequency. But literally trees, mushrooms, they all have this communication, this system that they use. Like trees, they consider, like with the forest therapy, they consider the trees to be like this non-human, but it's a non-human intelligence. So there's an about the world that we live in, and trees are a huge part of that. And it's pretty fascinating to me, like to think about the way that we sense the world, and our sense, like there's more senses than we realize. Like we have the like touch, smell, sight, all of those, but there's way more.
Well, that's what I meant with, like anything outside our senses. I mean, if you look again, the metaphysical sort of world and its explanation of things that aren't physical, and how we do have those the ability. We've just lost it. Some of us have been able to sort of retain it, or some of us have been able to home or train ourselves to sort of receive it or to understand it. And again, but most really just don't either care, or just, it's just too much for them to even think about. Because let's face it, I mean, it's, when you think of the universe, it's a huge, it's huge real estate. It's huge. And then you look at the universe, and then you look at the multiverse. The different dimensions that we interact with. It just makes it all that much larger and more difficult to steer.
We're so tiny. We're really, really tiny in this cosmos. But you know what? Like energetically, and I always try to think in terms of energy, all the same. Like energetically, we're all the same. And that's how I connect with the forest too. Like we're the same. We're made of the same stuff. Trees, the cosmos, we're all made of that same stuff. So energetically, and I think that's where the evolution of like where I've came down this road is that I and maybe weirdly enough to say, with the passing of both my parents, but my dad specifically snapped me out of a lot of stuff, like and then revealed a lot of things to me that now I can look at the world around me in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at your parents, I mean, for most, especially early on in life, they were a safety net. And when that safety net it's gone, you really have to fend for yourself. And you really have to, yeah, exactly. You look at things way differently. I mean, I lost my mother, but my father's still alive, but still, like, half of that safety net's gone. And I've noticed myself thinking differently already. So yeah, I totally understand that. Jami, it's been a blast.
Yes, it's been a blast.
I really enjoyed having you back on, and hopefully in the near future we can have Jenny back on.
Yeah, she would love that. I think she would love that. She's having a hard time with her.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, completely understand. Again, give her our best, and yeah, you guys are always welcome here.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, Jami, and you take care.
Take care, Jami.
Thank you. Bye, Alex.
All right. Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Night.
Good night. Super intelligent person, man. I mean, just fascinating.
Yes, indeed.
Like the whole the vibrational frequencies and everything else. Just incredible. Just incredible.
And it's interesting to see that he's open-minded about not just Bigfoot and the paranormal, but he's delving into a lot of other fields and areas.
Yeah, well, he's expanding his knowledge, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible that I mean, most people would, okay, I'm going to go investigate the paranormal, the ghosts, all that kind of stuff, or I'm going to, just do Bigfoot, or they just pick an area.
Yeah.
But I find some people expand, They either get.
It's important. I mean, at the end of the day, all of the stuff that we do, whether it be Bigfoot, UFO, the paranormal or ghost hunting, whatever the one, because I classify all that as paranormal under the same umbrella. But oh fuck, I lost my train of thought now.
Oh, that's not hard, is it?
No. I think what I was getting at is that we need to expand. We can't just focus on one avenue, because all of this stuff kind of fits in the same realm of
there's
the
a
unknown,
connection,
obviously, right?
There's a connection.
There is, yeah.
There's a connection, and I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, everything it's all connected. I mean, you sure you have your dividers. You have this area, you have that area, that and people stick to just that area, but there's the in between.
Mm-hmm.
They're the things that cause you to think, wait a sec. Could it be possible that ghosts are really aliens?
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa?
Yeah.
Are they coming?
I kind of wanted to mention that during the show, to be honest with you, because we have with when he was talking about the CE5 and having multiple people participating in this session with different sort of ideas of what things may look like or what they can experience, but all seeing something similar.
Yeah.
Could it be possible? And I kind of wanted to ask him that, but it's one of those open-ended questions. It's a big question to answer. But could it be possible that what they're experiencing is something paranormal, meaning ghostly, for lack of a better term?
Yeah.
That's causing all of them to see what they're seeing instead of it being extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many links that I've noticed over the years of investigating and researching the paranormal, and certain things that, and again, I'm absolutely no expert, and I'll never claim to be one. And I'm like, we said, it's a constant learning experience, but I would want to know more about certain things that for one thing, I've always been really intrigued with frequencies and infrasound, and how they quite possibly could be the sort of the recording device or the archives, the Akashic records, perhaps.
Yep.
And our way of sort of like patching into it, infrasound, and how we can use certain devices to sort of connect or communicate with that sort of realm, if possible. And
that's the other thing too. Yeah, the infrasound, like this opening up that sort of mental portal, for lack of a better term. Yeah. And if that CE5 app plays certain frequencies, that's possible that what they're experiencing is not external, internal, but all of them at the same time.
Well, perhaps opening a part of the brain that has laid dormant.
Yeah.
And that we do have the ability to use, but we just don't know how to use it. And these frequencies quite possibly can awake that sort of kickstart kickstart it.
Yeah. The problem is how do you maintain that after? Because if you need to have this sort of frequency / meditation session in order to activate it, we need to figure out a way to be able to activate it without having to do that.
Maybe you need to do this, Alex, and you will lose the ghost deterrent bit.
Yeah.
Open your mind to
Open
the
my mind.
possibility of seeing ghosts. Yeah. We are all absolutely, Neil. Absolutely. In death, we simply slip back into a cosmic blender of sound, acoustics, and energy. Yeah, well, because it's infinite, right? Energy is infinite. So when you look at us, our physical vessel obviously perishes, but I mean our energy essence lives on. It transitions. It goes to an area. Could it go to the Akashic records? Is that where it goes? We don't know, and that's the beauty part of it. I mean, to say we simply die, yeah, maybe our physical aspect may just gone. I mean, yeah, but I mean, does that mean you are gone? I mean, what do you think,
Your
Alice?
personality.
Personality, whatever. I mean, your personality, it might be.
My concern is this. I've gone out and I've done past life regression.
Yeah.
If there's any substance to being, reborn, for example, or whatever you want to call it, what first of all, why? Secondly, why don't we remember our past? And the arguments are very infuriating, to say the least. It almost feels like an excuse. So the arguments are, well, because you haven't learned the lesson you're supposed to learn. Okay, that sounds very culty and religious to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost like saying, "Oh, God works in mysterious ways." Okay, sure. So you have people who starve to death, people who die needlessly of diseases, of war, famine, and you're telling me that's, God works in mysterious ways, right? Okay. So the answer to us having a soul that reincarnates because we haven't learned a lesson, I don't buy personally. So that opens up another question. If we do have a soul, is it generated at the time of our birth or in conception rather, and then we move forward instead of coming back?
That's why I read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and I'm telling you that sort of that's down that realm that you're kind of talking about, and quite literally, it prepares the monks for the afterlife. So when they die, it prepares their sort of their journey into the afterlife. Okay. So monks practice to leave the physical aspects of life gone. It's non-existent. Right? And anybody who passes away, the first test is, are you able to let go of the physical realm? All things physical, right? Money, emotions, whatever. All these physical sort of things that you harness in life, your house, car, so on and so on. And if you can't, you can't let go of that sort of those physical sort of aspects in life, you are then sent to be reincarnated, right? Into the next phase of life, where if you're able to let go of all things physical Then you have passed, and you move on to enlightenment, full enlightenment. So that will be your existence. That's where your energy becomes a part of that, as that enlightenment.
Yep.
Right. And that's essentially what the Buddhists, these monks, Tibetan monks are built and to learn. Right. And I mean, what, like we mentioned, I mean, one example of that was, those classic photos from Vietnam when that Tibetan monk set himself on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other monks, gathered around him, and they're, reading their testimony and saying it was like he was not in pain. He was not in pain. It's like he left all the physical sort of aspects all behind. And he just sat there.
That's not the issue I have, though. And I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
My concern is this. Let's suppose, whether you're talking about the Buddhist method or otherwise,
Yeah.
you reincarnate because you haven't learned, or in the Buddhist case, you haven't learned to let go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why don't we remember?
That's a good question.
Because I'll tell you something. If we remember, then we'll have a better chance at overcoming that one thing or two things that we need to overcome in order to progress forward. So remember that old saying, if you don't remember history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we don't remember our past lives and the mistakes we've made or what we need to learn, how do we then learn on the next life if we have no memory of the previous?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the issue I have with that sort of reasoning, for lack of a better term. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying that what they're saying could very well be right. I'm just trying to understand why we don't remember when it would benefit us if we did, so that we can A, avoid the same mistakes, B, progress forward as a person and move on from there.
Maybe because, again, when you're born up to a certain age, maybe there are certain things that are there that you might remember, but you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then again, you get older and more of society's filters are instilled in you, and life becomes busy, and that is not even a thing in your consciousness. But that doesn't mean that, hey, deja vu. Who's not to say that could possibly mean you're experiencing something that seems so familiar, but you can't place it. Maybe it's because it's not during your current life, but in your past life. Right?
Yep.
Things like that, little moments, little glitches of memory that just seem, they're so foreign, but they seem so familiar, and you can't place it. There's, again, maybe there's some sort of filters that are instilled in us that prevent us from fully remembering.
Right. And that's fine. That's, I understand that part. I just don't think it makes sense if we've been sent back to learn a specific thing that we need to learn in order to progress. It would be more advantageous if we remembered our past life and sort of work towards that goal.
And maybe
instead of starting from fresh and possibly making the same mistakes over and over again.
And I mean, who's to say there aren't people that have that, are able to do that? And I mean, if I was to say that to you, Alex, to say that to any normal human being, they think you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
In this day and age, they simply would say, "You're fucked." Whatever, you're fucked.
I am.
No, but I'm serious. Like, I mean, seriously, like, I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, we would be. I think we'd be so intelligent. Maybe the people who are really intelligent have harnessed that sort of aspect.
I'm just reading Kristen's
Yeah, I'm just
comment
reading.
there. Yeah, I mean, I've heard other theories regarding reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that you need to learn a lesson and you haven't in your current life, therefore you come back. The other aspect I've also heard is you choose whether you want to come back or not.
Mm-hmm.
So when you die, your essence, your soul, whatever you want to call it, goes back to where, I guess, the one or whatever you want to call it. And then at that point, you're given the option. Do you want to come home or do you want to go back? And if you want to go back, do you want to go back under what conditions? Right? So it's up to you, the soul or energy or what have you, to make that decision. You could say to yourself, or to whomever, I really haven't experienced this in life.
Yeah.
And I want to experience this in life. And therefore you're sent back and put in the position to be able to experience what you want to experience.
Yeah.
It could be good, it could be bad, it doesn't matter. You're here to sort of experience something that you wouldn't otherwise experience in an energy form.
Mm.
Like physicality, you're not going to be able to experience that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reasoning why some people may have some flashbacks from prior lives, or when they go to do past life regressions, they have this whole elaborate sort of, story to tell when they're under hypnosis.
And I mean, look at dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the lucid dreams that you may have, and some the dreams that seem so real, and yet things seem so familiar, but you can't place them. And then when you're conscious again, you're like trying to remember the bits and pieces about what was, what happened in your dream, and you remember those little bits and pieces, and you go, I was with people that, they look so familiar, but I couldn't place them. Or I was in a location and this was happening, and I remember the location. It just seems so familiar, but I can't place it. I don't know why it seems so familiar, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So I mean, it's yeah. So, anyways,
I think we need to have a hypnotherapist on as a guest.
Yeah, a therapist. Let's have a therapy session. How about that?
No. That's not what I mean. I'd like to have someone who has experienced doing past life regressions, for example.
Sure. Yeah.
And sort of like have them recount stories of some of the things they've heard from these people that they've done regression on.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting.
It would be interesting.
Something to consider for next season.
Yeah, that's coming up quick. Wow. Yeah. So next Sunday we have our good buddy, the rock and roll ghost hunter, Keith Age, is going to be returning. Yep. And then the week after that, it is basically our season finale, Women in the Paranormal. So that'll be interesting. So far, Michelle Durocher and Christian, who's in chat, will be with us, and we've got more. That'll be, huh?
I'll wear a wig and dress up if I have
to. Yeah, it'll be a pretty cool conversation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we've got some. Oh, I've been working on it. So you like the scooter guy?
I
You
do.
like the scooter guy design?
I do. Yes.
So I think we're gonna go with that one then. I'm
Yeah.
still working. I'm still working on the dark woodlock concept. It just haven't got it perfected yet. It's getting close, but I like the scooter guy.
That's pretty interesting.
That one's pretty neat. So I
Yeah.
think we'll make some available, some t-shirts available of that coming up soon. So some new merch is coming, that's for sure. So guys,
Yeah.
go to our merch site. Would you go under past? Yeah, I would give it a shot. Absolutely. You know, I'd
Anthony
absolutely
Peak. I think we should write that name down.
peak. It's like a
Kristen, send us his details if you have it.
it's like a frequency peak.
Yeah.
Peak. Like it's a droning peak.
Yeah.
But yeah, so look for that coming out soon. And because the very last episode we're going to be shooting in October probably. Yeah, will be a little bit longer. The last episode would probably be, I would say probably an hour and a half long.
Don't
Give
make
or
any
take.
promises.
No, something like that, anyways. But yeah, that'll be cool. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having Keith on next week.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
You like the you like the logo I made for him?
I saw that. Yeah, it's nice.
He loved it. He fucking absolutely loved it. I'm like, dude, it's so you.
Yeah.
You know? He's like, and then he's like, can you make me doing this? And I'm like, yeah, I could do that for you. So you should see. I'll show them on the show. Hold on, I'll show one right now. Oh, I don't have it on here. I'll wait. I've got. Well, Keith showed them anyways, but I'll show you. Hold on. Here's him. With his PC Rich guitar.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh god, you're gonna love it. But did I flash that? Ooh.
Scooter guy
coming soon to a t-shirt near you.
Yeah.
T-shirt near you.
That's scary.
How many you think Gord's gonna buy?
Oh, he's probably gonna buy more than anybody else put together.
Oh yeah. So anyways. But yeah, back next Sunday with Keith Age. And yeah, season 18 will be, or sorry, season 17. Season 18's already looking up already. I mean, we're probably gonna have Jared from Man versus Ghost. He's gonna be on the show. We got some Hollywood happening. Hollywood's coming to Nocturnal Frequency Radio again.
That's right.
Yes. Some actress is going to be on the show in the new season.
Yep.
Yes, sirree.
You'll find out soon.
Yeah, soon, very soon. Once we get it all cemented down, we're looking forward to it. But anyways, I want to thank Jami this evening. Such very, very interesting. I can't believe it's been that long since he was last on the show.
I know it's been a long time.
But hopefully, when he comes on again, Jenny will be able to join us as well.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate she wasn't able to join us this evening. But anyways, till next Sunday night. Thank you for tuning in to Nocturnal Frequency Radio on the New Visions Radio Network, and of course, watching us here on our YouTube channel. Hey, Julie, How you doing? Guys, until then, take care. Great to see y'all in chat. And we'll see you next Sunday night. All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Good night.